Greetings, one and all, and welcome to episode number 34, the first episode of season number 2 of Thoughts and Hunches, making money in bunches and sucker punches. Your boy Stoney is back for season number 2. We did 33 episodes last year, started out early in the football season, went through college basketball, and finished with the NCAA National Championship and put up some good numbers, right? We're going to start out by just telling you, number one, right off the bat, if you're using this to make money, quit, stop, go get a job. That's your best bet. But if you want to make money and plan accordingly and make your own selections and compare them with mine, that's your best bet. Shop lines, do whatever it takes, get out there, and let's get paid this year. I was this close to making some selections last week in a video for y'all, but I didn't do it because I got stuck down in Atlanta. I was down for the Giants-Braves game, and it just couldn't work out with the timing and all. And, I mean, I can tell you that I went 6-0. Whether you believe me or not, that's a different story, but I did. And it was frustrating to see all those scores coming in. I mean, don't get me wrong, I bet them all and I got paid. But I wanted to offer the love to y'all so you guys can share along with the W's with me. Anyway, my fellow scumbags, lowlifes, hustlers, degenerates, fienders, you're all back. And it's great to have you back. It's great to be back on the air. And we're going to start doing this. Expect the picks every Friday now, going forward throughout the football season. Then we'll kind of amp it up as NCAA really gets going on. But for now, it's all about college football and pro football. So we're going to start out with college football games tomorrow. Did pretty well tonight and last night. Actually came through with some good selections. So, you know, those were kind of, and last week's week 0, which is what they call it, came up, you know, had some positive nights and definitely some winners. You got to forgive me. I keep peeking over at the scoreboard or at the big screen because Giants and Dodgers are locked in a good one here. Anyway, let's go ahead and here we go. Last season, our numbers were solid. NCAA football, 62.8%. Doesn't get any better than that. Right? That was our highest number of any sport, and we just delivered week in and week out, including the bowl games and everything else. We just kept dropping winners in your lap. NFL, not so much. 51.9% falls below the win-loss periphery of 52.3, which is the magic number. So, but overall, total, this is NCAA, college football, college basketball, NFL, everything, you name it, 58.2% on the season. I'd love to see anybody give you as many picks as I do and come in at 58%. Well, anyway, let's get started. Week 1, college football, tomorrow. Noon Eastern time, AT&T Stadium in Jerry World in Arlington, Texas. It's going to be Stanford and Kansas State. K-State comes in, 3-point favorites. Last year, K-State was 0-1, but they won their last 4, and they finished ranked number 16 to end the season. So, you know, that was after they started the season at 0-1. Now, to finish the season, they won 4 straight to get to 4-1 and ranked number 16. Then they dropped 5 in a row and ended the season at 4-6. They struggled, right? They didn't really have a quarterback that could get them downfield. They do have their running back stud at little tiny 5'6" Deuce Vaughn, 1,221 all-purpose yards last year. He'll be better this year. Their defense is still a mess, though. 32.2 points per game last year. You expect them to improve, but with a Big 12 defense, you never really know. Last year, Stanford, on the other hand, finished their shortened season at 4-2, with all 4 wins coming by a combined 10 points. So they're used to playing tight games, and they play well in the tight games. Jack West and Tanner McKee are the 2 quarterback system that David Shaw is going to use at Stanford. And while neither one of them has very much experience, if you know anything about David Shaw and Stanford, you're going to know they're going to run the football. And that's what they do. With Austin James and Nathaniel Pete, they have some definitely good returning running backs that can scamper and get some yards. So we're going to go with Stanford here. We're going to take Stanford to win the game outright. As 3-point dogs. I've got Stanford 26-24. My final score. Stanford with the W. You can take them on the money line if you like, but we're going to take the 3 to make it safer. Next up, we move on to Norman, Oklahoma. The number 2 ranked Oklahoma Sooners. They're at Memorial Stadium, and they are a 31.5 point chalk against Tulane. Tulane's sophomore quarterback, Michael Pratt, comes in. He had a pretty good freshman season. You know, he put up big numbers there, and he led all true freshmen with 20 touchdown passes, but he was sacked 33 times, the second most in all of D1. And I mean, let's face it, Tulane with Hurricane Ida just causing havoc down there. They're a mess right now. New Orleans is a mess. Tulane's a mess. And they're in Oklahoma, where they got to say hello to Spencer Rattler, the odds-on favorite for the Heisman this year at the start of the season. 28 touchdowns last year, 3,000 yards passing, 67% completion, preseason first-team All-American. Last year, Oklahoma started the season 1-2. Then they ripped off 8 straight, but they still feel like they got slighted when they were passed over for the college football playoff. They didn't make it. So look for a redemption team this year with a better defense and Spencer Rattler with a year under his belt. This one shouldn't be close. I've got OU winning it 55-16. This one gets ugly early. Next, we move on to the Big 12. And the Big 12, Wisconsin at Penn State. Penn State at Wisconsin. It's 19th ranked Penn State at 12th ranked Wisconsin. Wisconsin comes in as 5.5 point chalk. This is going to be a good one. Camp Randall Stadium will be rocking and rolling at noon Eastern time when this game starts. For Penn State has won and covered 4 straight against Wisconsin and 6 out of 7 against Wisconsin in this series. That's pretty impressive. James Franklin's done a really good job at Penn State. Last year, they lost their first 5. Everybody forgot about Penn State and just threw them to the wolves. But they came back. They won their last 4. They got things together. On defense last year, their problem was they had no returning players. Right? They had like 2. Right? This year, they've got 9. So this defense is going to be a lot better. Quarterback Sean Clifford, another year under his belt. He's very good. Wisconsin is solid, as usual. Quarterback Graham Mertz comes in. Right? He's got another year under his belt. And we know what we're going to get with Wisconsin. They're a lot like Stanford. They're going to run. They're boring. The offense is kind of stale. When they get behind, they really don't come from behind very often. Excuse me. But their defense is as good as it gets, and their DBs are very good, and they're going to make life miserable for Sean Clifford over at Penn State. So we have Wisconsin winning, but not covering. So we're going to take the 5.5 with Penn State, and I've got Wisconsin winning 24-20, but Penn State getting the cover. Next up, we move on to Maryland Stadium in College Park, 3:30 Eastern. West Virginia, 2.5 point favorites at Maryland on the road. This is the 2 programs' first meeting since 2015. Maryland was 2-3 last year. Their 6th straight season that they finished below 500. They were bottom 5 in Big Ten in points per game and points allowed on defense. Offensively wasn't much better. Taulia Tagovailoa, Tua's little brother, 7 touchdowns and 7 interceptions last year. Sure, he'll be better this year, but he's got no backs. And the defense from Maryland is really, really in trouble. especially here against West Virginia. West Virginia comes in, and they're led by Letty Brown. He's a workhorse, all everything running back. Rushes, catches the ball out of the backfield, scores, running, passing, everything. He was second in the Big 12 last year in all three of those categories: rushes, rushing yards, yards from scrimmage, and touchdowns. Their defense last year, the Mountaineers had the number one defense in the Big 12 as far as points per game, and they had the nation's number one pass defense. They're only going to get better. This is not the Dana Holgorsen led Mountaineers. This is a totally different squad that relies on defense. They do it well, and I've got West Virginia winning fairly easily. I've got West Virginia, even though the number's only 2.5. I'm going to lay those 2.5. I'm going to take the Mountaineers and watch West Virginia win 30-20. And another big out for the Giants. Sorry, just beat LA. Period. Next up, we got Bama versus Miami, the defending national champs. Let's call it Saturdays in the South. Alabama, the defending national champs. Nick Saban's 6th. What else is new? They don't reload, or they don't rebuild, they reload. And it's, when you lose Mac Jones, or guys with names like Mac, Devontae, Najee, they're all gone. But it doesn't matter, because a whole new recruit of 5 stars, not even 4 stars, but 5 stars come in right behind him. Miami, here's the thing about the Canes. I'm not a Cane fan, never have been. I actively root against the Canes. Sorry, Donnie. But this is a good team, and Manny Diaz done a good job, and they're getting better year in and year out. Last year, they got off to the hot start, then they stumbled down the stretch, which any Miami fan will tell you is the norm. But the average defense with an excellent pass rush, the front 4 is going to be very good, and they should at least make life a little bit uncomfortable for Alabama's Bryce Young, who takes over at quarterback. De'Aaron King, he's the quarterback over at Miami. He has playmakers. He's got wide receivers. He doesn't really have a backfield, right, that can run the ball, and that's where the problem is, and that's where Miami's going to get beat here, is that they're going to become one-dimensional. They're going to rely too much on De'Aaron King, and we all know how Alabama loves to control the line of scrimmage, especially from the defensive end, or the defensive line, and they're going to make that push up front. King is never going to get into a rhythm. And on the other side of the ball, Bryce Young, he may be making his first start as a Alabama quarterback, but he's got experienced running backs right behind him, one of the top offensive lines in football. They're going to win the line of scrimmage. They're going to hang 40 on everybody. Let's face it. They're going to hang 40 on Miami tomorrow. And in week 1, Nick Saban is 11-2 against the spread. So, Canes fans, sorry, but as much as anybody who likes the Canes here, plus the 20 points, it's 20 points, it's 3 touchdowns. That's a big number for the 14th ranked team to start the season. But for all of you that like Miami, sorry. Bama 44, Miami 16. I'm going to ride it until she bucks me, and Alabama, let's face it, they're on another level. So until they get beaten, how can you go against them? Lay the 20, roll Tide. Next up, we move to a Big 12 or Big 10 matchup, and this one is going to be a good one. Number 17 versus number 18. The 17th ranked Hoosiers from Indiana head into Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City to take on the 18th seeded Hawkeyes of Iowa. Iowa's a 4-point chalk in this game. Indiana last year turned a lot of people's heads around, right? They finished season 6-2 and ranked 12th in the final poll, right? And it all started with quarterback Michael Penix Jr. This kid was amazing, right? 1,645 yards passing and 14 touchdowns in only 6 games, right? But then he got hurt. right around Thanksgiving against Maryland. He tore his ACL, and that was it for Indiana. But it still didn't put a damper on the kind of season that they had, and it was top notch. Today they headed to Iowa, and Iowa did the opposite of what Indiana did. They started the season 0-2 and then finished 6-2, right? They won 6 straight. They won 3 straight. They've won 3 straight versus ranked opponents. Tyler Goodson, the running back, straight up stud, workhorse. He'll get the ball over 20 times tomorrow, definitely. The key for Iowa here is they got to travel to Ames next week and take on a very, very good Iowa State team that I'm big on. And I have Iowa State actually winning the Big 12 this year and knocking Oklahoma off their perch finally. But Iowa's quarterback, Spencer Petras, last year, he improved as each week went on. By the end of the season, he was playing his best football. That's going to continue on. And their linebacker, Micah McFadden, this kid is going to go in the top 10 next year in the NFL draft. He is a superstar. First team All-American. He's going to be the guy that is going to be shadowing Michael Penix and making Michael Penix's life miserable. We're going to take Wisconsin. We're going to take Iowa. We're going to lay the 4 at home. It's going to be a good one, but we got Iowa taking it 26-20. And yeah, that's it for that one. As we continue to move on, we move on to Texas versus Louisiana Lafayette. Now, this one here, it doesn't get any better than this, right? This is Royal Texas Memorial Stadium in Austin. Texas, Steve Sarkisian, first game as a head coach. He comes in with all these high expectations because it's Texas. They're 9.5-point chalk against the Ragin' Cajuns, but last year, Texas wound up 7-3. They beat Colorado in the Alamo Bowl. They've won 4 straight bowl games. Their running back, Bijan Robinson, is an all-purpose back who could be a good long shot bet for the Heisman. He won't win it, but he's a good long shot bet for it. Here's the thing about Louisiana Lafayette, right? Nobody knows much about them, right? Unless you follow college football. 11 wins in 2019, 10 wins last year, right? That puts them 4th in the nation over the last 2 years in wins. Quarterback Levi Lewis, this kid, I mean, Jesus, 5,000 passing yards, 45 touchdown passes just in the last 2 years, right? Head coach Billy Napier, right, has done a fantastic job there. This year, he's returning 20 starters from a team that won 10 games last year. Here's the scary part. 2 months ago, Texas was a 16.5-point favorite, right? Back in June, this game was a 16.5-point chalk. But the public loves Lafayette, and they've bet it all the way down to 8 at one point earlier this week. Now it's kind of leveled off, and it's back up 9.5. It might even be 10 by game time. The public loves Ucla, Lafayette, and that scares me because so do I. Usually I fade the public, but not here. Ucla's the play. I'll take the points. Texas wins 31-27, but the Cajuns get the cover. Pac-12 football, USC, one of the favorites in the Pac-12, as usual. 5 p.m. tomorrow night Eastern time at the LA Mausoleum. USC's 14-point chalk against San Jose State. USC went 5-1 last year. They were undefeated right up until the Pac-12 championship game, in which they lost to Oregon and lost really their best chance at trying to sneak into the college football playoff, which probably wasn't going to happen anyway, with only 6 games played by big Pac-12 teams. Quarterback Keaton Slovis makes his 3rd opening day start for USC. He's improving. He's getting good. He's getting better. He's not great, but he's good, and the experience and the speed of USC is going to be way too much for San Jose State to handle. But Here's what you got to look at. San Jose State last week knocked off Southern Utah 45-14 in an easy win. They've now won 9 straight games, and they haven't lost since 2019. Quarterback Nick Starkel, right, has done a fantastic job. First he was at Texas A&M, then he was at Arkansas, now he's at San Jose State, and he continues to play well everywhere he's been, basically. So last week, 394 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. Now, he's not going to do that against USC. We know that. But they're going to put up enough numbers to scare USC, probably early, or come in through the back door and snatch a cover. 34-24 USC wins, but doesn't cover. Syracuse versus Ohio. Let's go up to Penn Stadium in Athens, Ohio. I love my MAC football, always have. Syracuse is a 1-point favorite, and head coach Dino Babers is one of my favorites. How can you not love Dino? He's one of the most exciting guys around. Him and PJ Fleck are my 2 favorite coaches in all of college football. Anyway, they're going to run, and they're going to try to establish the run early. They do have a 2-quarterback system. Quarterback Tommy DeVito is going to get the majority of the snaps, but Babers hasn't really settled on a quarterback yet. What's the old saying? If you have 2 quarterbacks, then you don't have one. Their defense is awful. Syracuse's defense is just, 33 points a game last year. They were 3rd to last in all of college football against the run last year. Now, they can't get much worse than that, but they're going to be in trouble here today against Ohio, because Ohio has a very patient and balanced attack, right? This is an experienced team. They return 19 out of 22 starters. Quarterback Curtis Rourke, right? He protects the football, and if he protects the football tomorrow, expect some, you could expect an upset. So as a 1-point dog, I'm going to take Ohio on the money line to have them win straight up. It's going to be a good one, but I've got Ohio winning it 31-27. Now we head into the evening hours, 7 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern time. That's still not even the evening on the West Coast. Houston, Texas, Energy Stadium. Texas Tech -2.5 against the Cougs of Houston. This is going to be a good one. This one is going to be the opposite of Indiana versus Iowa, where it's just going to be ground and pound. The Texas Tech and Houston are going to get after it. They're going to spread the field. They're going to throw the ball around. They're going to score some points, and both teams can score points. Here's the thing. Texas Tech has Tyler Shuck, the Oregon transfer, and he's putting up numbers. He's going to continue to put up numbers because it's what Texas Tech does. They've got a bevy of running backs. They just keep coming one after the other, and they're going to have plenty of opportunities to get downfield. They have plus defenders on their front 7, right? Veterans, right? Big guys that have been around, all upperclassmen. But where they struggle, that's going to be on the back end, is their secondary. Their secondary is going to face a severe test because it's year 3 under Dana Holgorsen now, and we mentioned him earlier as the former coach of West Virginia. Well, he's at Houston now, and he has a veteran offensive line. Texas Tech had the upperclassmen on their defensive line. Houston has them on their offensive line. They have a rotating, talented backfield. They keep coming in waves just like Texas Tech does. And quarterback Clayton Tune, I really like this guy. He's a rising star, and he's going to put up some very, very impressive numbers for Houston this year. We're going to take the Cougs plus 2.5 at home. Houston 36, Texas Tech 33. As we count them down and come down the stretch run here, the biggest game of the night, could be the game of the year already in week 1. Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, where the Panthers play. This is the marquee matchup, game of the week. It's Clemson versus Georgia. It doesn't get any better than this. Clemson's a 3-point favorite. They're two excellent defenses. It's Dabo versus Kirby. Clemson wide receiver Justin Ross, right? He was first team All-American 2 years ago. Missed all of last season with the injured neck, and he'll be back. He's back and he's healthy. DJ Uiagalelei. All right, that's the quarterback for Clemson. He's incredible. His size and the way he can run, right? But he can throw the ball downfield. And with the talented wide receivers, especially the return of Justin Ross, Clemson will do that. And they will get the ball downfield and let their wide receivers make the plays. Georgia has JT Daniels, excellent quarterback, controls the line of scrimmage, keeps his hands on the ball. 1,231 yards passing last year, 10 touchdowns, only 2 picks, and that was just in 4 games. I like Georgia here, and here's why. They have a better ground game, right? Their defense last year was the number 1 defense in the nation against the run, and this year they're even better. Well, Clemson, with the loss of Travis Etienne, is going to have trouble running the football. So that's going to make Uiagalelei beat him through the air. Now he can, and I think he will. And here's the deal. The spread's only 3, and I like Clemson, but not to cover. Clemson wins 24-23, but Georgia gets the cover. This game is going to be everything you could possibly imagine, and it happens in week 1. It doesn't get any better than that. Screw the NFL. College football is where it's at. You don't get matchups like this where every game counts. In the NFL, you can lose 5-6 games and still make the playoffs. That doesn't happen here. If you lose 2 games, you're in trouble. So this one of these teams is going to be on the outside looking in early. And we're going to roll with the dogs. Georgia loses but gets the cover. Moving on, Illinois last week got a big win over Nebraska, 30-22, which I had them winning that game outright, and they did. Brett Bielema, could he have some believers in Champaign, Illinois? It's possible. I mean, Rutgers quarterback, the Rutgers transfer quarterback Artur Sitkowski, he put up good numbers last week against Nebraska, and running back Mike Epstein is the workhorse for Illinois. But they're in trouble today. They're in trouble, and here's why. UTSA, the Roadrunners of Texas San Antonio, right? They're hot, right? They were hot last year. They lost to Louisiana Lafayette in the conference title game. Quarterback Frank Harris. This is one of the most exciting players in college football. He throws, he runs, he does it all. He's the dual threat, and he's going to make life miserable for Brett Bielema's defense in Illinois. The fans saw the win. Here's another reason why I like UTSA. Everybody saw Illinois beat Nebraska last week. And wow, Illinois is very good. They beat Nebraska. Well, Nebraska's shit. They've been shit for the last couple of years. Illinois is improving, there's no doubt. But everybody saw that win, so they might be a little overvalued here. UTSA is 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 on turf. I definitely like the Roadrunners here. Illinois wins 26-23, but doesn't cover. Give me UTSA plus the 5. 10:30 p.m. tomorrow night as the witching hour starts to come along. San Diego State versus New Mexico State at Dignity Health Park in San Diego. All right. SDSU's a 31.5-point chalk. New Mexico State is just god awful. They lost 30-3 last week to UTEP. This is just one of the worst teams in college football. Their defense can't stop anybody. Their offense can't move the ball. If San Diego State scores 35, they cover. We say they do. San Diego State wins 37-3 and gets the cover. Last 2 games on the board, UCLA versus LSU. This is I'm a UCLA fan. This is pretty much common knowledge now. People have gotten to know this about me, and Chip Kelly is on the hot seat at down at UCLA. They're 3.5-point dogs against LSU, and this is a very experienced UCLA team as year 4 begins for Chip Kelly. He's got a losing record. He's not winning over any fans. They've lost a lot of games, but now he's got all of his recruits in there, and they're experienced. DTR, the quarterback, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, while he didn't play well last week, they did get a big win last week. What they blew out Hawaii at the Rose Bowl. Thompson, DTR didn't play well, right? But they got a big pick-me-up from a solid running back. The running back system, 3 different backs came in and carried the ball. Their defense is much improved. And tomorrow they face LSU. And LSU, that's another quarterback on the hot seat, or a head coach on the hot seat. Ed Orgeron, 2 years ago, was the toast of college football with his gravelly voice and his Go Tigers and his national championship with Joe Burrow. Well, it all fell apart last year in a 5-5 season, and they don't look to be all that much better. Now they've got athletes, they've got a solid defense, and I see this one coming down right down to the end. And I'm going to take, call me a homer, call me what you want, but I'm going to take UCLA at home to win a good one, 27-24 late with a field goal. Could even be an overtime win, but it's a field goal and it's going to happen late. And the Giants just got the Dodgers hung up in a rundown. That's a beautiful thing. Always a good thing. So take UCLA, take the points. And finally, the last pick of the week, the Degenerate Special. For those of you that love it, for those of you that look forward to it, for those of you that can't get enough of it. Washington State, Utah State. If you're betting this game, you've got problems, period. That means you had a really, really rough day. So Washington State, 17-point favorite against Utah State. Martin Stadium in Pullman. New head coach Blake Anderson comes into Utah State from Arkansas State, where he did really well. He won 2 conference titles. He had 6 bowl appearances, and they just kept delivering year in and year out. Now, the problem is he comes over and he inherits a god-awful football team. I mean, a really bad football team. I don't know what's going on over here. But anyway, he's got a lot of rebuilding to do at Utah State, and it's going to take a couple years. Now, I'm not saying Washington State is the class of the Pac-12 and they're going to win this game by 40 points, not by a long shot. But on paper, Washington State is much better. They have a talented group of running backs. Max Borghi, he's the guy that leads them. And they're going to run, and they're going to run, and they're going to run all over Utah State early and often. I've got Wazoo winning it 43-20 in the Degenerate Special. So there's your 15 picks. That's 15 picks I just gave you in college football. Right off the bat. Week 1, 15 picks. We'd love to go 10-5, but we'll take 9-6. Nothing wrong with that. Now, here's the thing. A couple programming notes going forward. Every video will come out on Friday nights ahead of your Saturday picks. Now, what we're going to try to do is get the next week's Thursday NFL game on the telecast, if we can. This week we can, of course, because it's week 1. As the weeks go forward in the NFL, you never know, because a lot of those lines don't come out till Sunday. But anyway, next Friday we'll have college football and we'll have week 1 NFL picks for you. So we'll be ready to rock. Now, week 1 NFL next Thursday, because our video won't come out till next Friday. Here's your Thursday pick. It's always the first game of the NFL season is always the defending champs. This year, it's Tampa Bay. They won it all last year. We know their deal. They won their last 8 games last season. That doesn't happen by surprise, or that doesn't happen by accident. They always come through to deliver, just like the Dodgers just did. I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. I really, really can't believe what I'm seeing right now. But anyway, Tampa Bay is loaded. Tampa Bay is the favorite to win the Super Bowl again. They return all 22 starters. The first team ever to do that, to return all 22 starters from a Super Bowl winning team the year before. The top-notch front seven on the defense is loaded, and they're going to be tested. They're going to be tested in game one against Dallas because Dallas has the skilled position players. Zeke Elliott, Mari Cooper, the wide receivers, they're everywhere, and they've got a healthy Dak Prescott. He's the X factor, and he was putting up numbers at a record pace last year before he got hurt. So he's back, he's healthy, he's ready to roll. The offensive line for Dallas is much improved. They're still not a very good team defensively. So if they can get enough stops on Tom Brady and just slow him down, and because Brady didn't play at all in preseason. So if they can get enough stops, they can keep this one tight enough. I'm going to take Dallas. I'm going to take the points at 7.5. Tampa Bay wins 30-26, but does not cover. So take that one. So that's it. There's 15 picks in college football and 1 NFL picks. That's 16 plays for next week. We can't go 10-6, right? Then, the next week's free. Actually, they're all free. So, I'm not a tout who's trying to get your money yet. Anyway, I'd like to thank everybody for watching, for hanging on to this 36-minute diatribe of mine, even though as my team just shit the bed in the 9th inning. God, it's rough to be a Giant fan. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with a couple of quotes and sayings, right? And you got to remember that there's money on the streets that can't be ignored, right? If you want to win big, you got to what? You got to bet big. And good luck to you. Have a good one, everyone.